You've got a lot of people making $60,000 a year, living in ranch houses. Young people working, you know, at the Navy base, coming home, you know, playing catch with their kids who don't think that Barack Obama's Antichrist. They just want lower taxes.
Joe, what happened to the moderate Republicans, though? I mean, Lincoln Chafee changed parties, called Sarah Palin a cocky wacko. Republicans can hardly hold power outside of white evangelical sections in the Deep South.
All right, returning for round 2 of the debate, senior writer for the Daily Beast and writing fellow for the Nation Institute, Max Blumenthal. He's also author of Republican Gomorrah, Inside the Movement That Shattered the Party.
So, Max, remind us, what's the thesis of Republican Gomorrah?
Well, there are different ideas packaged in the book, but
what's the one big idea?
One of them is that a radical movement has taken over the party and driven it outside the mainstream of the American public.
What radical movement's that?
Primarily the Christian right, but also radical anti-government groups like the groups we saw in the National Mall on 9/12, comparing Barack Obama to Hitler and Stalin at the same time.
That's, yeah, kind of confusing and disturbing. So Max, it seems to me, and I've noticed this through the years since I've been in public service, that a lot of progressives who talk about being open-minded and diverse seem to embrace diversity, but seem to begin getting a bit more intolerant whenever evangelical Christians decide they want to engage in the political process. Why is that? What is it about evangelical Christians being involved in politics that so enraged so many progressives?
Well, I can't speak for so many progressives, Joe, but that's your critique. My critique is in my book, Republican Gomorrah, which is that right-wing evangelical Christians who do not respect the separation of church and state enshrined in the Constitution have substantially taken over the Republican Party.
They have a different interpretation of that. Does that mean that an evangelical Christian who was concerned by the radicalism of the 1960s, so they got engaged in the 70s and 80s, does that mean they don't respect the Constitution because they want their federal government to reflect their values as much as a progressive who marched in the 60s wants the federal government to reflect their values?
Well, we were there together, Joe, at the Daily Beast inaugural party. And I remember you gave a talk about how the battles of the 60s and the culture war were over, and we were now entering a post-partisan era. And I think if Barack Obama made one mistake, it was to think that if he were elected president that he would be allowed to govern. We now see a movement that has taken over a party represented by people like Representative Trent Franks, who recently called Barack Obama an enemy of humanity. That's language reserved for, like, for Hitler during wartime.
You know, Jerry Nadler,
they refused to allow him to govern. They're seeking nothing short than the delegitimization of his administration.
Come on. You see, this is the bigger problem, though, with American politics. You pick out Trent Franks. I could pick out a Democrat who said something.
Pick him out, please. Pick him out.
Jerry Nadler, using fascist references to people that were going to town hall meetings. Harry Reid, who runs the damn United States Senate, calling Americans, quote, evil mongers. Well, Nancy Pelosi writing, would you like me to continue? Nancy Pelosi, who runs the House.
Well, the woman,
people do know. Hold on a second. Using the term un-American. This is, we can pick out the extremes on both sides.
Right, we can pick out Michelle Bachmann warning about census workers collecting private information on Americans to put them in concentration camps, and a Fed worker in Kentucky winding up lynched with the word Fed on his chest. These are the consequences of this rhetoric.
Max, this is becoming a cartoon, what we're doing right here. My point to you was that we can both pick out extremes on both sides who are reckless and irresponsible. Isn't the bigger problem that the far left over the past 8 years, the far right during the Clinton administration, and now the far right again during the Obama administration are trying to delegitimize presidents? That both sides go after this, and we've got to step back and try to figure out how to heal this country.
Well, I can't really disagree very much with that narrative, but I think it's the right and not the 60s, not the counterculture that's been dividing America time and time again.
Just the right.
I mean, if you look at the healthcare debate, Barack Obama attempted to reach out. He attempted to compromise with people like Senator Charles Grassley on the Senate Finance Committee, this party elder. And what does Grassley do? He echoes Palin, who is echoing the lunatic fringe LaRouche cult on death panels. This is the kind of party that Obama is faced with. Can you forgive him for attempting to compromise, for attempting to get over the culture wars, for attempting to get over the battles of the 60s? Of course you can. But he made this mistake in believing that he would be allowed to govern.
Well, he can govern, but that
he
doesn't
can't govern with the Republican Party.
Mean his
they refuse to compromise. They're totally intransigent.
No, hold on a second. Now, why in the hell would I, as a conservative that believes in small government, vote for a stimulus package not put together by Barack Obama, but by Nancy Pelosi, a stimulus package that left out the type of tax incentives that economists this morning are telling the New York Times should have been in that stimulus package. The things we conservatives were for in January, now 9 months later, economists are saying to the New York Times should have been in that package. Why would I vote for that? Why would I vote for a climate change bill put together as a conservative, as a small government conservative? I would
as a member of the movement that's taken over the party, you wouldn't have voted for that. We had a Republican experiment for 8 years that left us with these problems, that completely deregulated government, allowing the economy to collapse, allowing the banks to have free reign, and Sarah Palin, the de facto leader of the Republican Party.
You know what, Max? You're being intolerant here. I believe in small government. No, you are. You were not even.
I respect your beliefs, Joe.
Well, okay, then respect me when I tell you that there's no way that a small government conservative like myself would support the stimulus package that was put out. No way. There's no way a small government conservative, let me finish, like myself, would support a cap-and-trade program put together by Henry Waxman. There's no way a small government conservative...
Why? Because it was put together by Henry Waxman?
No, because it was a horrible bill.
This is sort of juvenile, Joe.
It was a horrible bill. That's why.
Well, we had small government conservatives in power for 8 years, and you guys failed.
Hey, guess what,
we had an economic collapse as a result of your policies.
The problem is they weren't small government conservatives. The problem is that when I left Congress, small government conservative, we had a $155 billion surplus. When George Bush left office...
That was under President Bill Clinton.
We had a $1.5 trillion deficit.
That was after the Republican Congress of Tom DeLay. Two-step Tommy.
Yeah, great. Also, the $155 billion surplus, and reporters that were there. Let me finish.
Well, you don't let me finish. I'm not going to, let you just
you keep
take over the airwaves.
You keep interrupting
I'm a guest.
me here.
You should welcome guests.
Okay. You know what? Go ahead.
You guys went and had a war in Iraq and reversed the surplus under Bill Clinton. It should have been paid into Social Security. Instead, you wanted to privatize Social Security, which was totally unpopular with the American public. Barack Obama's approval rating is up 6 points because he bailed out the banks.
All right. Hey, Max, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks for coming, though. It's nice to have you. And we'll just have to continue this conversation when we don't overlap so much. Coming up, more with Tom Brokaw, including his latest stop through America's heartland and Highway 50. And a little later, Congresswoman Maxine Waters will be here, and we'll talk about Letterman's legal woes. You're watching Morning Joe, brewed by Starbucks.